Okay, so let me see if I can figure out how to, oh, yeah. I'm just testing the live chat to see if it works. It's like really slow in the chat for me. Hang on. Okay. So how do I get a link to this? Okay, now when it cuts out, I'm just going to wait until it says it's back online because my internet is being ridiculous and keeps cutting out. Let me go to my channel and see if I can find this. Hang on, give me a second. This is only my second live YouTube video, and I want to figure out how to link it while it's live. So let me, the link address. All right, let me try this. I'm actually going to start talking about something in a minute, but you'll have to wait. Let's see. Come on, computer. Let's see if this works. And you'll also just have to ignore the air conditioner sound behind me because I am overheated and I don't want to turn it off right now. Just seeing if the link posts correctly. Ah, it's working. Okay. So let me just put this link in 2 other places real quick, and then I'll get into actually reading the reading. I assume there's like nobody watching or commenting right now, but eventually, once I know what I'm doing, people will come and talk to me. Just stall out again. I wasn't looking. Come on, Facebook. Be a pain in my ass. Unreal. So, the reading that I'm going to be doing is, let me get in here. I don't want to actually say anything important until I know whether I'm cutting out or not. Let me just link this real quick. Concentrate. Okay, here we go. Come on. Let me post it. There we go. Yes. What's Napoleon's brother's name in the movie there? That meme with his hand where he's all excited. Or like the sand baby. There we go. All right. I'm almost ready to actually start saying something important. Okay, so just heads up again, if it cuts out, just sit there until it comes back because my internet's being dumb. All right. So what I'm going to do is actually kind of follow-up for the reading that I did yesterday. So I've got the sort of next thing that I really needed to work on after the Thoth reading that I did yesterday, and now it talked, I'm shaking the table, it talked about, if I say one more time, I'm going to punch my own self in the face. It talked about deeply seated trauma on a large scale of a catastrophic event that basically shut off the natural flow of masculine and feminine energy, and disrupted it and made it imbalanced. And what I was finding out in terms of my own self, because we all have masculine and feminine energy within us. I don't need these cards right now. Why am I opening that box? So sort of the yin yang. If you find yourself operating more in masculine energy, and you've got a little dot of feminine in you, and then if you find yourself operating in feminine energy, you still have a little, 5 or 10% of masculine energy. Where am I putting these? Over here. I'm really thirsty. I'm taking a shower when I'm done with this because I'm really sweaty. So what I found is that I'm supposed to be operating in feminine energy, and for a long time I don't think I really was, and then having it sort of removed from me made me very suspicious of it at all to begin with, and I was operating in a very masculine frame, and I need a piece of paper. Don't look at my stuff in the background, it's messy. What I was gonna do is have a marker that's actually dark enough to see. Give me the thing. I had a fat black shark. All right, welcome back. Is my thing cut out? So what happens is that masculine energy creates something that is angular. It's like a vector. It's like a direction, and then like a speed or will to move in that direction. But what feminine energy does is it travels along those same lines, but it does so in terms of curvature. Let me get this. So for the feminine, you would have this pregnant or breathing in, and then you would have this birth or giving or breathing out, where the curves go inwards. And if it was three-dimensional, it'd be like those 3D Cheetos. And then you'd get a shape also like a long skinny balloon that would come from one of those sides like that as well. So you get these other derivative shapes here. So the masculine and feminine travel the same way, but it's sort of like the masculine initiates what direction things are going in and sort of how fast. It's like a focused force of motion, but the feminine is the one who creates the path. It's like it's kind of like in Stargate, where they have 6 points, figure out where they are, and then the 7th one is the destination. The line that goes from where you are to the destination is the masculine energy, and then the wormhole itself would be the feminine energy, especially because it's like round and it goes everywhere. It's also like those family circus cartoons with the little kid where he wants to go in a certain place, but then he spends all his time in this sort of feminine creative meandering. And what we need is really balance in there. And I'm not saying that it's the masculine's fault in doing this. And I did a reading earlier where I ended up putting out half of the deck of 2 different decks separately to get a reading on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same decks. I've got my music deck that I made, and I didn't see if I can get it. There we go. I was really lazy. I just drew little musical notes on the back. And what I should have done was print out like a pattern and then flip it over and print out the other side. But so I'm using my music deck that I made, and I actually forgot about it when I made my new infomercial video. And I totally forgot that I could offer that to people as well. It's not for sale because I have bootleg images on them, but I will, if you want to print one out, I can email you the file and you can print yourself out one. All you have to do is buy 10 pages or a larger packet if you want to. You need 10 sheets of any thickness of cardstock. These ones are actually quite thin actually, and it's basically, they're basically the same thickness as a very thin tarot card. They're just not laminated, but they're easy to shuffle because they're smooth. And then I'm also going to use the mini. Oh, God damn it! I'm dropping the cards. I'm going to use the mini Rider Waite deck. So teensy. So cute. And I didn't use this earlier, but I'm also going to use the Work Your Light Oracle deck. So let me get into this, how I got into it. Oh, this one has green now. I had a black band on this, and for like 4 times, maybe because I keep trying to put it on sideways, I shot the band across the room. Oh, there it is. And I keep not being able to find it. I figure maybe if I fling the green one across the room, I'll find it. But I don't like, I like it better with the black band because it matches the plaid on the back of the card. So we're going to use the music deck first, and I could tell you the information that I got earlier, but I don't want to overly influence the reading because it might be kind of repeating. It has to do with, it's not necessarily toxic masculinity. It has to do with an imbalance within it, and it has to do with this, and it could be ancestral, but because I noticed, at least in terms of feminine energy, after I did the reading, and then I was watching a couple of other tarot readings on YouTube, that I figured out why the ancestral pattern existed that had disrupted the feminine energy in my family. And what had happened, and I'm going to say this in case it's relevant to anybody else, is there have been multiple times where people lost their mother, their biological mother, when they were very young in my family. And it's actually both of my grandparents that ended up getting married to each other. And the energy there is that even if they had an adoptive mother, which both of them did, that the energetic bond of what you would expect a mother would be would still have traumatized them, at least on a DNA level. And I think what happens is when you grow up and then you try to raise your own kids, you don't really know how to connect to a feminine energy in that nurturing, creative mode. So even if you would express femininity like my grandmother did, in terms of, making yourself up like a woman and being fashionable and doing appropriate wifely things and joining women's clubs and doing arts and crafts, there's still this sort of hard edge of not being able to really connect to like a warm and inviting tone, I would say, of like a nurturing. There'd be all the trappings of femininity, but no nurturing. And The damage to femininity on the other side of my family has to do more with fear and immaturity than it does with a lack necessarily. And I keep looking down because I'm actually looking at the cards while I'm shuffling them, and I don't really need to. So just in terms of ways that it's not really gendered, the way that each type of force can, I would say, the way that each side of the duality can be imbalanced can happen in different ways. It can be removal, it can be overbearing, it could be both, and it could be one or the other coming down ancestrally. And that, again, touches on the point of my channel with being ancestral trauma. And I'm finding that what I thought was going to be related to ancestral trauma is actually more broad. And as I work on the channel more, I'm actually getting better idea of what contributes to that. Again, it could be cataclysm, it could be famine, it could be war, it could be a lot of different things. So again, and I didn't really think about that in terms of direct family until I had done the reading earlier about damaged masculine energy coming down, and also thinking about it afterwards while I was listening to other people talk about stuff. And I think the readings that I was watching were actually love readings. And if you're a person who goes and watches relationship videos and you think a lot about the masculine and the feminine, or if you're watching twin flame videos and you're talking about divine masculine and divine feminine, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about it more in terms of relationships and who should be or needs to do what for their healing. I'm talking about the energies that you have within you. So if you are feminine dominant person and your feminine is an imbalance, you can guarantee that your little bitty masculine inside you is also not in balance, because one feeds the other, and that continuous yin-yang infinity toroidal system. It's a constant inflow and outflow. It's a constant feedback, feed-forward loop. And then if you're more masculine, especially if you feel that you have to perform masculinity to a point of being macho and not being allowed to have feelings, then you are guaranteed to have something binding or upending your little bit of feminine energy. So what I'm talking about today is specifically to the imbalanced masculine, because for me, I feel like I've made progress in healing my feminine energy to a degree. I don't consider myself an expert at that. I think it's constant work. I think everybody would agree that it's constant work. So what I'm gonna do is get some cards out here. I kind of lost my train of thought. So what I was saying is that I'm focusing on masculine energy right now, because that is what I felt like I needed to work on today. And I'm not going to say, oh, I'm going to do a feminine video next, because I'm just going to do what I feel compelled to work on right now. And also probably because feminine energy is more intuitive and creative to begin with, so you might not need as much help with that. I'm not saying that you don't, but in general. So we're doing masculine right now. So I need to get back into the Akashic record or whatever background information that exists in the universe. And let's get some cards to find out what has happened to masculine energies on this planet over time. That is, let's get this stranglehold on their flow. Let's get this. Come on. I literally had half the deck come out earlier, and now it's nothing. Look at that one. Okay. So I have the Five of Wands. I'm trying to get it to, like, I don't know if it's going to focus. Let me see if I get it to kind of focus there. I don't know. I had this problem last time I tried to do a live. So the Five of Wands inverted. And in my music deck, it's Beat It by Michael Jackson. And then I have Four of Swords, which is Sleepwalk, the extended version, Santo and Johnny. What's interesting in these two cards, just before I get into any interpretation, is that the way that I've got this, the Sleepwalk has fingers. So you see 4 fingers in place of 4 swords. But in the Five of Wands, it's a scene from the gang fight in the video, and their hands are touching because they're tied together. Now in the reverse, there's this sort of skull shape with mist coming out of the mouth area. And then here there's one sword separate. This one finger is also in darkness. And then I guess it's an auto harp or something, whatever. So again, we have 9 here total, which has to do with like an almost completion. In some cases, it's also half of the moon. So it's either half aware or half occluded. What I'm getting is like you're halfway up your own ass. I would not have said that, but that's what came down. So in terms of a skull, it'd be this sort of foreshadowing of death, where 5 would have to be changed. And it's saying, and because it's inverted, it's like we know that it's time to I'm going to say kill, but there's a time coming where this bravado of fighting will have to stop. There's a need to sit and reflect on what's been happening, to play out in your mind what you've been doing, or this struggle to be the brightest, the sharpest stick on the block. So let me get some other informations. I don't know if anyone's actually watching this video. I'd kind of like to see if anyone actually is on the live, if you can comment so I can see if the chat is working, because I only posted a couple of test comments from my side. Oh, here's a card that came out. Okay, so I have 8 of Swords. It's I Want to Break Free by Queen. This is, I don't think it's actually a shot in the video. I think it's a still. It's like a promo video. I mean, a promo of the video. So Queen, I want to break free. And the lyric is, I want to break free from your lies. You're so self-satisfied, I don't need you. Now, what's interesting is that these guys were all dressed up as women in the video. And I think it was characters from some British TV show. And so what I feel is that the masculine wants to, and then we have this doubling too. It's this multiplying. We go from 4 to 8. So we're getting this exponential ramping up of energy. So they want to, in your thoughts, when you take the time to think about it, you do want to break free from this toxic or this fighting, combative energy. And here it's because they're dressed in feminine attire, it's like, I don't want to have to put on this facade all the time of being super masculine. I don't want to have to be always fighting. The only contact I ever have is when I'm about to shank a dude. So we have, so here's the 8 and the 5. That's 13. That's that death to Smoochie over here. And then this would be the Hanged Man, 8 and 4 together. Or it would be a knight, someone who is ready to get out there and do something new after thinking about it. After training to do something, a knight would go out and start doing it. They would go out to spread the news or whatnot. So as a hangman, it would be somebody who's waiting for a new inspiration or new information to come through. So it's I'm thinking about it. I want to, but I don't know what to do. I want to move on. And my bladder is like, hey, what's up? You were really thirsty about an hour ago. How do you feel about that now? This is 9 of Swords, Tourniquet by Evanescence. So the lyric that I can remember is Christ tourniquet my suicide. So the 9 of Swords is nightmares usually. It'd be I'm sleeping, but my dreams aren't very good. It's this 4 and the 5 together. And then we have this sort of truth card coming in and saying, I've been living in this dream that's hurting me, and I'm afraid. This is actually a lot more intense than the reading that I got earlier. It's more aggressive. Page of Wands in reverse. So this is Such a Night by Elvis. It's basically about a one-night stand. This sort of night riding in passionately, ready for some action. And this is actually a picture of Kurt Russell from 3,000 Miles to Graceland. So it's sort of a bunch of Elvis impersonators go to rob a casino, which would definitely be this in line with this 5 of Wands. So we could either have 6 here, victory, but it doesn't seem like it with these two energies. They're both in reverse, which would indicate a lack of victory. Or if the page was in the 11, you would have 16. You would have that tower moment, whether it's mild because these are in reverse, or whether you get that full-blown tower moment of your foundations crumbling. The premise that your life is built on is faulty. It is a house of cards. The defense's case does not hold water. Thank you, Marissa Tomei's voice. That was interesting. So we have the King of Swords in reverse. It's radioactive. The version that I like to use is Pentatonics and Lindsay Sterling. So we have a picture here of Kevin with his cello from the video. And much like the way the swords are fingers in this card, the swords in some of the other cards are bows. An instrument of destruction. So he is inverted. So we actually have radioactive decay. And we go from this Five of Wands in reverse to the Page of Wands in reverse. And now we have this King, although this is in swords. So we're alternating back and forth between wands and swords, which is actually very masculine. They're both very phallic in their symbolism, and the masculine suits in the tarot deck. So what we've got also, we have a 1 or 14. So 14 is temperance. That would be balance. You would be blending fire and water. So because there's only fire and air here, you're not in balance, because essentially it's full of hot air. You have only heat and only air. It would be like volcanic ash. Hot. I mean, you could say steam too, even though steam is moist. The only way that men can feel their feelings are if they blow off steam. They're not allowed to process them. In that way, the emotions that you have only deepen their poison within you, thus radioactive decay. So let's see what else. Oh, this one wants to come out. Is that upside down? Yeah, that was upside down. Did I see that already? Maybe I did. Oh, okay. That was 16. That was 14. 16, 17, okay. So if I take 11 for the page, and I take 1 for the king, so I have my tower and then a 1. Now I have the star in reverse. So in my music deck, this is Isaac by Madonna. I don't entirely know the depth of the song, because the guy that's doing the duet, I think he's singing in Arabic. I'm not sure what the language is specifically, but at the end of the song, he says what it's about. And it's this guy talking to the angels and something or other. Now, this came out inverted. So we have an unfulfilled wish. And if we combine the 1 and the 7, we have a lack of strength as well. And there was something when I was looking at this card earlier when I was doing a reading. It has to do with pushing away. It almost looks like that thing that crawls out of the TV, attacks you. Is this, it has to do with this direction, but here it looks like we're going to drown or something. It's this very angular masculine movement. Oh, I know what it was. I was looking at the writing upside down. What did I get? I was reading the N and the disco ball and the V, or the A. And I got N-O-W. Oh, through the card. So I got N-O-W. I also saw Nova. So I just added it back in there. But Nova and Now would also have to do with timing. It would be that now is the time to start talking to a higher power, to talk to the angels, due to lack of wish fulfillment or something like that. So I'm not totally satisfied with the reading of that card, so I'm gonna skip it for now and maybe go back and clarify it after, because I can. But I definitely, when I first pulled this out, when I had the page and the 5 here, I'm like, ooh, that's 17. But then I was like, no, wait, that's wrong because it's a page, not a knight. Such a knight. And I almost thought it was a knight. Speaking, no, we still only have a page. So we have the Page of Swords here. So this, I think, tends to clarify this, where this is following the Tower. So in order, it'd be 16 the Tower, 17 the Star. So it's a progression. It's saying we're inverted in the Tower. Where's the hell are my cards? I keep dropping shit. So we're inverted and we're in the Tower. Freaking there, in the Tower. In the Hall of the Mountain King. That's a different song. No, that's Death. And then we're going into the Star, even though we're back asswards. And then we get another page here that gives us a 1. So now we're in the Moon. Now here we have the Page of Swords. This little, well, it's actually a girl, but it's in her little groovy getup. So actually what we're doing here is we're getting into this, we're saying deep within the Tower, there is this hint of feminine energy. Because the Star card is usually a female, so our female energy that's deep within the crumbling infrastructure or worldview is inverted. And this, I think this came out upright. So now we have a baby energy, a neophyte energy with swords. Okay, this is really good because the song for this is Crypt of the Necrodancer, OST Zone 1, Level 2. So the, God damn it. The game Crypt of the Necrodancer is made by this, or I don't know if it's made by the same guy, but the music is the same guy that does the music for The Binding of Isaac. So it has similar style music, and the game might be the same people that made the game too. They have, you play a little character and you have to move according to the beat in the music. I haven't played it, but I saw a little clip of it and I like the sound. So this, again, in what's here is that there's this sense of rhythm. And again, here as well, there's a sense of having to be in a rhythm because of the musical instruments. And here, even with the microphone too, he would have to be in a rhythm, but he's not because he was upside down. So the Crypt of the Necrodancer. So what happens when you have a tower moment? Your foundation is dead. And so you'd have a necropolis, necromancy, necrodancer. So here is finding a new rhythm in the darkness of the moon energy of secrets and fears and things that are hidden. And the background here is very dark. With starting out a new journey, finding this new rhythm, which is also communicating it to yourself and the truth because of the swords. Okay, so I'm going to see if I have any other cards coming out of the music deck for this. I'm going to have to go back after and put the songs in the description because I have the URLs saved on my spreadsheet for this deck. And then the cards are a Word document. Ew. Just had swordfish repeat on me. Oh, damn it. All the way onto the floor. And I bet the card too. Aha! I think I got this card earlier when I did the same. It's not the same reading, but I did it for the same thing. The Beatles in My Life from the Rubber Soul album. So it's cropped there, so you only got George and Ringo. I mean, not George. John and Ringo. As if I had not been listening to them since I was like 2.5. Okay. Like part of somebody's head over here too. So the key aspect on here is soul. John is judging you. So you have 6. This is the Lover's card. Now, if this was going to be a twin flame reading, I'd be like, oh, it's not. I'm going to put it in my twin flame playlist because having balanced masculine and feminine energy is important for such a thing. So this is Gemini. It's the twins. It's a choice. Came out upright. So we're getting a 6 energy here. Okay. 6 usually in the suits, it comes to some level of balance, because if you get the 6 of Wands, you have a victory, which would mean that there's been a balance between what you're struggling against and you. I mean, you sort of winning, but in that way, you're no longer out of balance with your own strength in some way. And the 6 of Cups is the balanced. Now, I came up with this earlier and it was really good. The 6 of Cups is the feminine, is the heart chakra of the feminine, open and in balance. The 6 of Pentacles is the heart chakra of the masculine, open and imbalanced. So 6 of Swords. What is that? That's the rolling away from the bullshit. So the 6 of Swords is also kind of balance. And in this way, it's kind of the opposing card to the victory card. It's, I am in balance with my struggle, and instead of winning over it, I simply go away from it so that it doesn't affect me. So those 2 cards are balanced as well. So the Lovers, we do have balance in that way. There's 1 and then there's 1. And it's in my life. I'm trying to remember the lyrics. One of those things is those memories lose their meaning. And also, in my life, I've loved you more. And again, if it was talking about the love, I keep looking down at the cards. I'm trying not to, like, trying to pretend like I'm actually looking at the people who are watching this. So, if it was a love reading, and again, it's really not supposed to be, those lyrics would have to do with, you know, you're their true love and everything else they've done isn't really in comparison. But it also has to do with, you know, treasuring things within yourself or certain energies that you've been ignoring as well. Is there? Oh, I was like, what is there, glue on my screen? But it's the graphite on the painting behind me. I was like, what the heck? Like, I was like, what in the ass is this over here? But it's Michael's eyeballs that I haven't finished working on. Okay, so here we have Yeah, it came out upside down. Magician. So the masculine archetype, the psychically in-tuned, indigo chakra open, pineal gland, eyelid cracked open, masculine, the magician inverted. And much with the way of the radioactive King of Swords, the masculine inverted is like using your own magic against you. It's like the sorcerer who burns his own tower down, which is exactly what's happening over here. So this card is the Steamroller. Actually, it's not. It's the 7 Metals of Alchemy, but the picture is the Steamroller by Mannheim Steamroller. And it has an M on there for magician or masculine. So the magician, the 7 Metals of Alchemy by Mannheim Steamroller. Again, with the word man right in it. Now, I always find it interesting the way I did this because encoded into this, I have the number 7, which would be the Chariot. And then you would see it, that sort of going back to the 17 with the 1 and the 7, or an 8 energy, which would be strength, or lack of strength with the upside down, or using so much force, too much strength, so much force that you've destroyed that which you were trying to achieve. It's like instead of using the little listening thingy to crack the safe, you just blown the whole frickin' thing up. But you've destroyed the precious jewels you were trying to steal anyway, because you blew the whole frickin' vault up. I think the 7 Metals of Alchemy also have to do with the planets. And I don't know if there's 7, but there's a bunch of planets in retrograde right now that are kind of bringing these energies to light. You know, the 7 planets of antiquity, the moon and the sun and the 5 other planets. So you could say if you got rid of the moon and the sun, you'd have 5 planets. And I don't know if there's 4 or 5 that are going to be retrograde. But anyway, going back to the magician. We have this evil scientist, crazed magician, like evil sorcerer kind of thing. I'll probably just kind of forget what I'm talking about and then trail off. It happens. So let me see if there's anything else in this deck before I grab the other deck. Oh, there's the Knight. The Knight of Wands. Oh, okay. So the Knight of Wands card. This is Christmas Eve in Sarajevo, which is the Carol of the Bells. This is Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It's one of their pyrotechnic displays, which I actually saw live. It was like my first real concert when I was in college because I grew up poor. But so we have the Knight of Wands in mid. So the sort of rapidly moving, passionate knight who's ready to burn down the whole goddamn forest to get his things across. So we have this sort of, you know, rushing in for a one-night stand energy, and this sort of like, oh my god, like all the things right now, holy crap. But it could also be, because it's inverted, it could be a recoiling from that burning down the house kind of vibe. It's It's the Carol of the Bells is a very aggressive song, and it's sort of like, it's almost like death. It's like the bell tolls for thee. With the knight being a 12, and here we have this inverted. Usually if a knight is inverted, I'm like, oh, it's definitely the Hanged Man. He's definitely hung up on something. But with those bells, it's like, again, I'm getting that death vibe of the impending doom. The impending doom of what's going to happen. And even here with it upside down, we have that big M in the middle for male. You've got mail. If it was upright, it'd be like, what? Women? Let's see if anything comes out to go with that. I kind of feel like with Christmas on there, it has to do not with like holidays, but more with timing. Now is the winter of our discount tents. Oh yeah, here we have party all the time. This came out earlier when I was doing this reading. 3 of Cups. Party all the time. Eddie Murphy. Rick James, bitch! So this picture is actually a screen grab that I got from the video. It took me forever to get them lined up like this. So we have Eddie Murphy here in the middle. So this would be anyone here dealing with their masculine energy. This would be you. And you're forced to choose between this guy over here and this woman over here. You're like, well, I need my energies to be balanced, but I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm caught between them. And that way it's not really celebrating. It's this... I'm just trying to think of the lyrics too, yeah. It's like you don't have access to something because every time you want it, it's gone out and done something else. You seek to control the feminine in order that you can be balanced, but it's not working. I think this has to do also with the Magician card. It's like this pyrotechnic display, this big kind of illusory display passion. When what you really want to do is be in balance, but you're trying to control where the feminine is and what she does and where she's going, just trying to do her own thing. So let me see if I have any more cards coming out. Yeah, this one came out earlier too. 9 of Pentacles. Now, the song for this is called My Favorite Color, and it's actually a video that this person made. I don't remember what their name is. I think it begins with K. It's a video that they made that's a bunch of different YouTubes assembled together that have nothing to do with each other, that make up this unified song, like an experimental jazz song. So they have this one girl who's singing, and she said her song is called Green because it's her favorite color. Then they have this lady playing on her organ, and some other people playing keyboard, and different string and wind and drums and stuff, and just put it all together as like a coherent whole. And because of the way the image is, I put it on the card sideways. There's only 2 cards that I made the image sideways. The other one is the Knight of Swords. which also has a cello on it, 2 cellos. So it's called my favorite color, the 9 of Pentacles. Now, usually the 9 of Pentacles is like a good card. It has to do with, you know, your garden is growing well to the point where you're comfortable and you can just go out and kind of tend it a little bit and your abundance keeps coming in. It's usually the lady in her garden with sort of health, wealth, and well-being in terms of, you know, usually in terms of physical things and not as much emotions. But the way that I see this, especially because it's sideways, is that it's a challenge. The masculine is fragmented within his own mind because he seeks to attain this 9 of Pentacles, which is a feminine suit. It usually has a woman on the card. He is using the fragmented behavior, the disjointed energy that he's been going around with to try to attain this. This is a challenge. It's sideways. He is challenging femininity and trying to beat her at her own game. But to do so, he has to use all these different resources instead of just growing it. All those little clips, they're all rectangles. It's all angular. The Wheel of Fortune. Spinning wheel. Blood, sweat, and tears. That's how he builds his temple. Blood, sweat, and tears. I did get the wheel earlier when I was doing this reading. The way that it came out was that I got a whole bunch, and actually this was with this deck when I did it. I got a bunch of 5s progressively. I got the Devil. Did I get the wheel before that? I got the Devil. I got a 5 of something. I think it might have been the 5 of Wands in that deck. So I got the Devil. I got the 5 of Wands. I got a wheel. I think I might have gotten Judgment as well. There was this sort of progressive. The way that, and I don't remember it exactly, but what happened was that I got a 15, I got a 10, I got a 5. And it was sort of counting down in these 5 increments of change, 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 but it was descending instead of ascending in a way to avoid judgment at the 20s. Like, I don't want to be judged. I'm going to go back the other way with my incremental changes in this sort of 5 energy. And that's extremely unhealthy. So I went, like, it kind of went from the Devil to the wheel. And I have this picture of a carousel that I grabbed for the spinning wheel. Yeah, spinning wheel got to go around. Drop all your troubles by the riverside. Catch a painted pony on the spinning wheel ride. Now, usually, if you got the Star, you have the naked woman picking up and pouring out water on the riverbank. If she dropped both of them, she'd be dropping all of her buckets on the riverside. And we went from a 9 here to a 10. So we have a 3, and then we have a 9. So that's sort of like a ramping up. And then we get back into this 5 energy, and we go, stop, 10. So he's moving. He's trying to catch this brass ring. But what he doesn't realize is that he's on this same thing that keeps going around and around and around and around, and there isn't really any growth because he's trying to force it. It's like, I need to get the... Yeah, but you're not gonna... You're just gonna come right back to where you started from. If you make your pentacles instead of growing them, you're just gonna have to keep... You're gonna have to keep cranking them out. I'm wondering why they taste stale. Let's see what we got. Ooh. Okay, this came out kind of sideways. 3 of Wands. So it's challenge. And then we have death here. Again, death. The end of a cycle. Chance to go to come to clear the slate and start off with something new again. So 3 of Wands is usually, the way I've got it is I saw 3 ships. And I used the Nat King Cole version. And I found this card here. So we have this sunrise on a new day kind of thing with the ships coming in. And what we see here is there's a lot of water. So you'd have to, your ships won't get to the shore unless they cross all this emotion. Your future that you see coming in with this new horizon here is a challenge because you're not in this sort of feminine emotional state. And here, I don't know if you can see it, there's water breaking on these rocks on the shore. Some sharp, craggy rocks. Craggle rock. Let's see what else. Oh, okay, I got 2 cards coming out now. I got this one too. Fog Hat, Slow Ride. Knight of Pentacles. This time he's upright. So we have the moon. We have this darkness here. Now, it's kind of interesting. I didn't actually get the moon card. I had a suggestion of the moon. I mean, if you put this spinning wheel with the I want to break free, then you do get the moon a little bit more specifically. But what I saw with this card before when I pulled it is this masculine energy being forced to slowly come out of the darkness of this moon energy with this sort of foggy, or this fog of unknowing, of this lack of truth in self, and going through this rounded portal here of the feminine. And again, also because the Knight of Pentacles is slow, it's slow ride. It's also very sexual too, even the imagery that I scabbed here. There's also this sort of reminder of the 9 up here. I thought it was more eloquent when I read it earlier. I also got 4 Wands in reverse. And I've got, this is Somewhere Over the Rainbow / What a Wonderful World. It was like a mashup when he's saying it. It's Israel. I'm probably going to pronounce his last name wrong. Kamakawiwo Ole. Again, I'm guaranteed that's wrong. Anyway, remember that Hawaiian guy? He did Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and then he passed not that long after. Now, the picture here is the cover of his album Facing Future, which is exactly what he's doing there. He's got a rainbow. So this would be, you know, his ships have come in and now he's still looking out over the water, but he's got a rainbow and he's got this floral, actually it's not floral, it's like animal print but just pretend it's floral. So this nature print. What do they call that? Sarong or something. His garment. But he's upside down, so he's not really looking into this future that much. And the Four of Wands is usually that happy home and abundance. So it's again, it's the sort of, your foundation needs to be rebuilt still. It's not there. It's this breakdown of, it's saying, well, we got 16, and which was the with those other cards together, but now we've got this the root of the tower is this foundation here. That's where you're not dealing with the future necessarily. You're not appreciating the natural world. You're shying away from the earth as a feminine energy. You're also shying away from that within you. Let's see if I've got anything else here. I'm not saying like, and again, when I say that, it's not like you are not doing masculinity right. It's even to myself to say, like, this is the energy that you're harboring. And this is what's been going on with masculine energy templates on Earth for quite some while, 100, 200, 6,000 years. So it's not your fault necessarily. I think we had this earlier, and it was upside down. We have the 10 of Pentacles upright. So here's this rainbow that he was looking at. We're getting right in there. So Kodachrome. What's this other one there? 3. So let's see what these numbers are. 4, 4 is 8. Speed 12 and 3 is 15 and 4 is 19. Okay. That was upside down. Okay. I'm just thinking. It's kind of like saying, if you skip ahead to this idea of completion, what you see that's not happening here, we have this energy that can build up that could be the sun at 19. And what's 1 and 9 but 10? So this would be that completion. Now what happens, you see this very watery rainbow splashes here. This is saying that we've taken this challenge, and if we go into that feminine energy and deal with our feelings in this water, we have access to all of these colors. We don't have to force out a favorite one. You can grow all of them. And again, the rainbow being this. Oh, fuck. Is it done? Is it done being a piece of crap now? Hopefully people heard me say future and happiness with this. It literally cut out and then went back and then cut out again. Piece of poop. Okay, so anyway. And also remember on the traditional card, the 10 of Pentacles, I think has a rainbow over it. It's to do with happiness. Pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Especially with 10 Pentacles. 10 colors in the rainbow. Oh, look at that. The Hermit, dust in the wind. We go 19 again. And We actually have a very phallic shaft here on this very feminine figure. It almost looks like Giger drew that, but I don't know if he did. I'd have to go research that album cover. Looks like Giger. But then you have this like round dust ball. This again with this phallic symbol, but then a woman behind it, even though the woman is sort of angular. But the hermit has to do with going within and reflecting. So when you get through those other energies with that slow climb out of the darkness of the moon energy to achieve this 10 of Pentacles by growing it using your intuition and your creativity and your feelings, you have gone through this reflective phase where you're actually deep inside your shell. You're dealing with the feminine that you may have been ignoring. And you have this sort of masculine shaft here. It's like saying that the masculine isn't fully activated if you're shutting out your feelings and your intuition. Because here is this sort of pineal wings of the brain thing with the crown chakra activation. I don't think I want to use this deck anymore. I want to get into the other one. Let me get the mini one. I can't believe this is over an hour already. I did clear this deck earlier, so I'm just going to shuffle it a little bit. Look at that, middle of the deck, 10 of Pentacles and the moon. What did I just say? I had just said a minute ago. Okay. 5. That was one of the 5s, I think, that I got earlier. It was the Hierophant. I found you like a fit disturbing. Although I think I got it upright before, and I was saying you're trying to play God. The masculine is trying to play God and having dominion over the feminine. But here it's sort of a lack of faith, and it might be in the masculine doesn't believe that he has the power to be himself. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, performing to the patriarchy. Is there one upside? These cards are so small that they tend to flip over when I shuffle them, and that's sort of how I know I need to pull that card. There we go. This one was inverted when I pulled it out earlier. 9 of Swords. 14. Let's balance. Nightmares and fears. Oh, I guess that is a dude. I usually picture this as a woman, but it's like that really tall chick in Game of Thrones with the armor, or it's a dude wearing his nightdress. Remember Monty Python and the Holy Grail? The prince in the tower there? Herbert. Prince Herbert in the castle. Having his nightmare. All he wants to do is sing, but he's not allowed to. And there's the death card. This is 5 on it. It's a flower, but it looks like a pentacle there. And in this sort of Capricorn energy with that sort of pentagonal symmetry. This is the same freaking dude down here in the corner. I don't know if you can see this. I can't. I don't wanna do the work and pick up all the crap and change. wanna get the horses. Oh, it sounds like the Hierophant over here is like trying to schmooze with the horse. He's wearing red here, but he's like, hey, horse, I got some nice religion for you. Meanwhile, Death is just like, come on, man, I got shit to do. And again, too, it's like the sun is going to shine over these two moon pillars if you can get through this. Oh, yeah, see, there's the moon right there. The moon. Gotta get along, little doggy. Ooh, you know what? I keep getting the West in my head. It's in my dreams. It keeps popping up. I keep getting Jim Morrison telling me the West is the best. And I finally figured out why. The moon rises in the West. So if you're going to get illumination out of the darkness, what has to happen is wait for this to fucking work. When you look into the west, when the moon rises and it has the sun reflecting on it, it'll illuminate the dark. So it rises in the west and it sets in the east. And that's when the new day dawns, when the sun pops back up the other way. Science, bitches. Now we have this little lobster down here. It's usually a crab, but apparently people can't freaking draw a crab. It's like those assholes that call Sebastian a lobster on Twitter and then get mad at people for correcting them. So this crab energy, which is Cancerian water. So again, it's this sort of feminine, intuitive energy, has to be seen and at least acknowledged. It's not like you have to be feminine to be masculine. You just have to accept the balance of the moon taking up half of the day. Strength. I think I got this earlier as well. So you have the infinity symbol here on the head. And again, that's that sort of the loop, the toroidal inflow, outflow of this loop. This loop comes around feminine, it loops around masculine, loops back around feminine, loops back around masculine. And you'll usually see that the magician also has that infinity over his head because he wouldn't have his intuition and be able to have dominion over all of the elements if he wasn't in balance with his energies. So there. It was weird when there's only one in my eyes. I swear to God, I'm not Illuminati when I'm doing this. They look brown, though. They're not brown, either. Okay, so the strength card. So I'm trying to get it to, like, focus at all. This camera is bullshit. But, number 8. So the lion, sunshine, masculine. Again, so the moon, sun goes down, the moon comes up, the moon goes down. Here, and I'm masculine again. Now here, see, the masculine is the lion. The lion's not aggressive, though, because he is soothed by the feminine. Although she's not in prison here, she's just hanging out. She's like, hey, buddy, I got you. I will braid your mane for you. Right here, it looks like she's making him take his medicine, though. You know, when the cat doesn't like to take the medicine. Take your meds, motherfucker. Put it in a piece of butter. Oh, my nose is itchy. But here, it's kind of like the high priestess. You know the masculine, he's wearing red and he's got like the bower, is that the word? I need to look that up 1 second. It's working. Let's try to see if it's working. Ha, it is. Okay, so the magician is under a bower. It's like this garland of flowers up on the top of the thing. And she's kind of wearing them. And she's wearing white where he's wearing red. And she still has the same infinity symbol. And she's got a little crown of flowers as well. But here it's sort of, you know, the masculine sunlight that shines over half of the day, the daytime half of the 24 hours, is at peace. He's not really being controlled by the feminine. She's just kind of doing that, putting her head in his mouth trick. Because she knows he's not going to bite her this time. Let's see. Oh, my nose is so itchy. There's sort of the mountain in the background. And I know it's kind of lumpy, but in my head it's a pyramid, which would represent knowledge. And of course, the sun and Leo being very fiery also would be pyramid. Let's see what else I got in here. I don't want half the goddamn deck to slide out. It's not helpful right now. I was doing like 4 or 5 cards at a time earlier. 13. Death. So you won't be able to work together with both hemispheres of your brain until you get through this ego death. What else have we got here? There's also, I also see 3 pentacles here, which gives me the devil. The masculine tends to be chained to material, the material world, trying to build those pentacles out of sheer force of will instead of dealing with feelings and subtleties that are outside of the material world. I think I know a little bit about that because I'm a Capricorn, which my card. So here we have the 2 of Wands inverted. And Isolvin has to make a choice. He's sort of gazing into his globe there, deciding which country to put a flag in. Again, I'm getting Aretha Franklin, Natural Woman, because he's looking out on the water. It's sort of also like sitting on the dock of the bay vibes. You ever hear the Sarah Bareilles version? It's really good. I recommend it. Here I get this sort of, he's kind of ignoring, he's holding the feminine in his hands and also his rod. And he's kind of ignoring the other rod for the female side. This is sort of Gemini choice, like lower vibration lover's card of not quite in balance enough to see where I need to go. Don't fold the maps. Twister. What's that guy's name? He was in Speed, too. He's a good actor. Ace of Cups. What do you see if we turn it the wrong way? M for masculine. W for water. Women's. And only because it's the feminine water suit. We have a new beginning in the outflow of emotion of intuition with the crown chakra opening, the addition of energies and intuition and deep emotional feeling of letting things flow out naturally. Just waiting a second, because usually it takes a few seconds for it to roll back up. So anyway, I was saying fulfillment. I want to stop soon because it annoys me when my internet cuts out for no good goddamn reason. So one thing or the other. It's still better than waiting 6 hours for 3 20-minute videos to combine. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. No, I don't want to. Okay, well, there's the Ten of Pentacles again. Kind of flipped out on me. Two of Swords, the Moon, feminine energy with these masculine swords. I see one hemisphere, I see the other hemisphere of the brain. I see this guy here. He's like, okay, I'm going to get into this feminine persona and see if I can think about it like that. I don't know if I want to be in this water, but I'm going to get near it and see if I can figure out anything. So we have two, we have matching. All right. This is sort of a junior high priestess kind of vibe, but I think it's this guy just trying to, he's getting into this. Where's my queen card here? Are we done? Can we trust him? Come on, man. Where the hell is my freaking card? It's on the bottom. I'm going to be extremely inconvenienced for a few seconds. There it is. The idea is that this guy here who doesn't know where he's going, he wants to break free. So he's going to put on this feminine countenance. He's like, let me see if I can put on my red shoes and dance here. Let me see if I can get into this inner feminine and think about it. I'm going to think about it because I don't know how to feel about it. And try to get in here a little bit. What are these other two cards? Oh, I don't know if this is upside down or not, but I get the Page of Pentacles. So it's kind of like saying, well, I want to do Pentacles because that's how I like to do, but maybe if I just kind of try to start over again. And we've got this sort of knowledge in the background, this mountain again. Ah, so itchy. Oh, here we go. I don't know if these came out upside down or not, but we have the High Priestess and the Emperor. So again, Junior High Priestess, actual High Priestess. So as long as this feminine psychic archetype is cast down, the masculine archetype, just in general, this isn't the, is also going to be imbalanced. But if we do get imbalance here with allowing intuition in, the masculine will be in his power without extra ego, and you'll get back to that 6 of the Lover's card. I don't know if I want anything else from this either. It has to do with trusting your intuition and thinking about your feelings instead of avoiding them as a start. And then you got to try to feel your feelings too. But thinking about them is definitely better than this. Anything else? No, just the bottom of the deck. 8 of Swords in reverse. So here, practicing. Here, we're still blindfolded. We're trapped. We tried to do all the swords at once and we got trapped. And also got our like ribbon attack thing tied up around us. Because it came out inverted, after doing this, getting all the way up in here, the only thing left from going here is to just let yourself out. And this is exactly this card. Here we want to. This card in the reverse looks like this. But the way that this deck is, it's like upright here with this image is good. Oh my god, my phone, what the crap? I'm not expecting any calls right now. Oh my god, shut up! God damn it. Okay, so anyway. These are the same cards. So we have this desire to break free, and now we can actually do it. To check that in a minute. Really inconvenient. Busy. Alright, so let me get not frazzled here. And let me pull a totally disturb my flow. I'm gonna get a Work Your Light Oracle card. Yeah, I'm like totally completely cut off from from the flow that I was doing. I don't even know if I want to take any more cards right now. Let's see if I get one. Just wanted to finish out the reading with an oracle card. Disturbed. Alright, so I got the Age of Light. You've been training for this for lifetimes. Now again, here's this sort of pyramid in knowledge. This sort of mountains representing behind. And again, it's just like what I said before with... there's also round circular elements here. I don't know if they're very clear. There's some down here, circle, and some up here. So it's this round feminine and angular masculine. This sort of higher chakra idea. And just also that this has been coming for a really long time, trying to unify these energies. One more. Ooh, okay. I guess I'm going to... as well as my chair. No, I don't really feel those either. Let's see if there's anything else. Agitated still because of the phone. Just leave my phone on because nobody ever calls me, and of course. The one time. Pleiades. Channeling and uplifting humanity. I did get kind of a Pleiadian connection. If I could talk. Pleiadian connection yesterday when I was doing the Thoth reading. But here it just says double mission, channeling and uplifting humanity. So basically by working on healing imbalances within yourself, you create a chain reaction that helps everyone else. I think that's all I want to do right now. Align your life. What is not aligned or needs change? Get a pickup. Where the hell is that card that I had earlier? Give me! There it is. You gotta defrag your hard drive, home slices. I hope that's helpful. Thank you to anyone who stopped by while I was actually doing this. Goodbye. Oh, 11:12. Perfect. Good night. Bye.